Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another episode of Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today we're going to take a look at Dungeons of Infinity. This is either a new game that is coming out on Kickstarter or is already on Kickstarter, depending upon when you're watching this video. This is a 2 to 4 player dungeon adventure strategic game. It takes roughly half an hour to 2 to 3 hours, depending upon the scenario or mission you choose, and it is either cooperative or competitive. Also a choice that the players will make, as each scenario or campaign will allow them to do either or. So, in the game itself, each player is going to take on the role of one of the adventurers, whether it's a wizard, a thief, a paladin, or a number of other characters that will be available. And then they will choose a scenario or campaign, and you will get a huge book. This is just a small sampling with just a couple scenarios to help us give you guys a good idea of how this goes. But in the book itself, the campaign itself is almost 25 pages, and it covers all kinds of different things, really, really cool stuff. And so the developer has already said that he is going to work on making a really nice, good size, thick book that will be included in the game that you guys will pledge for on Kickstarter. So this is really going to give the game a lot of flavor, and depending upon what you play and what you do, just a lot of different possibilities. So like I said, once you choose your adventurer and you choose the scenario you're playing on, then you will go ahead and go through the adventure, and you'll run into dungeon bosses and the overall dungeon lord that's taking care of that dungeon, or whatever else that you got going on in that quest, as this game really does have an unlimited possibilities of different things that can be accomplished, or that you can create yourself, which is really nice with these kind of games, is that you can just make your own scenarios, come up with your own stories, and create your own text if you have somebody that's really creative in that way. So another thing that I want to mention real quick is that all the stuff that you see in this video, all the components and all that are not finalized yet, and a lot of these will be upgraded as the Kickstarter goes, and the artwork and all that is going to be redone for most of the stuff. A couple of things are finalized, like the character art and that, but a lot of the other art will be upgraded and improved. The tiles, most of the tokens, most of the cards and that will get better artwork and that. So don't look at the components as that this is what you're going to get in the end. All those are going to be polished up and made really nice for you guys once the Kickstarter ships, once the final production is done. So pay attention more towards the mechanics of the game. See if it's something that you're interested in. Like I said, if you enjoy dungeon crawlers, if you like strategic games, this is definitely one that I would recommend checking out, as it really makes you think about the actions that you choose, how you either support or backstab your fellow adventurers, and how you approach each mission and handle the final bosses and things like that, as they are really tough. They will really make you work to kill them and to gain those really cool rewards. And as you go through the dungeon and that, and you do different things, you're going to gain experience, and you'll be able to level up your adventurer depending upon which one you choose, and it will gain new abilities or allow you to upgrade or equip some of your new items and things that you've picked up throughout killing your different minions and things. And then another neat feature of the game is that instead of just having a set number of things that you can do during your turn, each adventurer is going to have a standard deck of 8 cards, ability cards that they can do on top of any of the regular stuff. So you still have all the options to do the regular stuff, moving around and that kind of stuff. But then you also have these ability cards that'll let you do special attacks or do multiple things within one setting or whatnot. So they really add a new dimension to the way that your character is going to function in the game. So my impressions of this game so far have been pretty good. I've played through a couple scenarios already, and I've had a chance to try out the campaign, and have had a really good time with it. It does definitely meet the expectation that it is a strategy game and that you do need to think about the actions that you perform. And it doesn't have a problem punishing you if you make too many mistakes, or if you decide to be greedy and go off on your own and just do your own thing and forego your other adventures if you're playing a cooperative game. Now, the competitive mode does work well as well. It's just a little bit different than what I'm used to as far as When I think of an adventure game or a dungeon crawling game or something like that, I'm usually thinking that it's cooperative and that you're not going to be backstabbing your fellow players, because it seems counterproductive to be going into a dungeon and hunting the other adventurers in there on top of trying to defeat the enemies. Is when you do run into the enemies, you can run into a huge number of them. So it does seem like you kind of want to have some help in that. But if you like those competitive games, if you really like to be the lone wolf in there and try to come out as the top dog, that's definitely going to meet your needs, as well as you're going to have to really be strategic in that and mindful and sly about how you do different things to accomplish all the goals that you need in order to be the victor in those games. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and I'll show you guys what this game's all about. For hero setup, each player is going to choose a hero that they'd like to play as, and each player will get one of the hero dashboards, which these will be upgraded later on after the Kickstarter campaign, so they're going to look a little bit differently. But the information on them is going to remain the same. So each hero is going to have a hit chance listed, which you're going to need to roll equal to that number or less than that number on a 20-sided dice. Then you have the amount of noise that your hero generates, your hero's power when it makes an attack, its defense value, and the number of action points that it will get during its turn when it activates. On the top corner here, it's also going to list the different areas that the hero is susceptible to. So our wizard here is going to take additional damage from ice and poison attacks. Then you have the hero's experience chart, which is going to list their current level of experience and when they will go up in the different levels. Then we have the hero's level, which lists levels 1 through 5. The hero's health, which is color coordinated. So depending upon the level that the hero is, that will be their starting health for that level. And then we have the boss events, which is going to generate a card that you'll flip each time your hero does combat and run in their action turn, which we're going to take a closer look at during that part. And then finally at the bottom is the different sections of that hero that can be, and the items that can be equipped to them. So our mage here can equip a staff. For their armor, they can equip robes, feet have sandals, and then the right hand for the staff as well. From there, then you'll get the hero's token. Each hero is going to start with 3 coins, and there are 8 ability cards. And finally, the hero gets some markers to mark their different things. So each hero will start out at level 1, 0 experience, and they will start at 15 health, or wherever the yellow marker is, as they are level 1. And they'll have a couple extras for some of their cards in that. Now let's take a closer look at some of the enemies that are included in the game. There are 3 different types of enemies that are included. We have regular enemies, which we're going to look at right now. Then there are boss enemies, which are kind of like your mini bosses. And then there are dungeon bosses, or dungeon boss cards, which are like the epic, massive, nasty dungeon boss leaders that will just rip you apart. So each of these cards is going to have different pieces of information on it. In the top corner are 3 stats, the hit points that that enemy has. The black dice will show the number that that enemy has to roll equal to or less than to score a hit, and the white dice is going to show the modifier to the hero's roll. So when a hero performs an attack against this monster, his attack is going to be reduced by 1 on his to hit chart, which we'll take a look at during the combat. Then we have the enemy's name and any special abilities that that enemy has. And then we have 2 boxes. The first box is the enemy's attack value and any bonuses that it adds to that, plus its range. So our grizzly bear here has a power level of 7, and he adds poison to that attack. The second box is that enemy's defense. So our grizzly bear has a defense of 5, and it is weak against fire attacks. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the dungeon tiles now. And as I said before, this is not the final artwork. These tiles will look a lot better when the game is finally produced. So each dungeon tile is going to have different pieces of information on it. The starting tile is going to have a section for a merchant, which the players can go to buy items and equipment. All the other tiles are going to have a red number in the bottom corner, which you're going to consult the room chart the first time you enter that tile, and you'll compare it to the numbers that are listed on the side, and that will be the thing that you will place in that room. On top of that, each of the rooms is going to have doorways that will lead to different rooms from those rooms, which are separated by these two yellow triangles. So when a character moves from one section or one tile to another, they must have an open doorway. And when that new tile is placed, they're going to line it up so that those doorways meet and the blue arrow is pointing in the direction that the hero came from into the new tile. For board setup, the first thing you're going to do is separate each one of the decks of cards and go ahead and shuffle each one of those individually. From there, then you'll place out all the tokens you're going to need for the game, and then you're going to create your stack of dungeon tiles. The starter tile can be separated off to the side, and the rest can be shuffled up and placed in a stack. From here, then you can place out the starter tile in the center of the dungeon, and you can place your starting heroes in its space. You're also going to go ahead and select a room content chart, which there's a number of them that are going to be included in the game, and there's two sides. There's the standard difficulty and the hard difficulty. And this will give you the breakdown of what the numbers on the side of each tile is going to represent and what is in that particular room, which we're going to take a closer look at during the game. From here, then we're ready to check and see what our merchant has, as our heroes are just about ready to get started in the game. So the first thing we're going to do is grab the store deck that has the weapons and armor. And you're going to go ahead and randomly deal out 4 cards from that deck. Then we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the store deck and do the same thing, except for we're going to place out 6 items from that. All right. From here, each of these items is going to have the costs of that item to purchase from the merchant. The information on the side of the card here is not going to be used in this game. This will be used for an expansion that will allow you to play campaign. At the bottom of each card is going to give its different abilities. Now we're going to see which one of our heroes is going to go first. So each hero is going to roll a 20-sided dice, and the one with the lowest number will be the first guy to go. So it will be our mage that went first. So she'll get the first token, and our paladin will get the second. From here, then she can go ahead and take her turn. So the first thing she's going to do is go ahead and purchase some gear. So she definitely likes that thick robe, so she's going to spend 2 gold for that. And then she's going to go ahead and purchase the staff as well for 1. And that will be her 3 gold that she has. Now that we've finished all of our purchases with the merchant, we're ready to head into the wizard's turn. So during her turn, she has 4 action points that she can use to do various actions, whether she wants to use some of her ability cards, or continue exploring the dungeon, or a multitude of other things. So we're going to go ahead and move out of our starting tile into an adjacent tile, which we can do by passing through one of the open door sections. The only section we can't go through on our starting tile is the south direction. So she's going to go ahead and move over here. So she'll flip over the top tile of the stack, and then we're going to place the blue arrow lining up with where she's coming in at. Then we're going to reference the number in the bottom corner of the tile with our room chart, content chart, which, as you guys can see, the floor is covered in mist, as we have our tiles an 8, and that lies in between the 6 and 11. So the floor is covered in mist. So we're going to go ahead and flip over the top card of the mist. And this one says, you enter the mist and it flows all around you. You hear a loud noise behind you. You turn and see enemies forming in behind you. How did they get there? So it says we're going to draw a number of enemies equal to the number of heroes plus 1. So we're going to go ahead and draw 3 enemies. And we will line them up in front of our wizard. So let's go ahead and shift our merchant's gear over to our warrior. And then we'll go ahead and line up our enemies. So we have 2 spiders. One is a frost spider and a skeleton ice mage. Then for each row that we have, we're going to line up the enemies in a group of 3. If we had additional enemies, then they would start a second row. And once that row hit 3, then we would start a third. Each row that we have will get a reward card for it. Even if there was only 1 enemy there, it would get an additional reward card. From here, then we can go ahead and perform the rest of our actions. So our hero could try to retreat, or she can go ahead and try to fight some of our enemies. So let's go ahead and take a look at how combat's going to work. So our wizard still has 3 action points left to spend, and she's going to go ahead and take a look at some of her ability cards, and we're going to go ahead and cast one of those. So we have our Staff of Elements. And the Staff of Elements costs 2 action points to use, and it says that you're going to add this power to your attack based on your level. Also add fire or ice damage to the attack. So since we're level 1, it's going to add 3 power to our attack, so that will make our power level 3, plus 1 for our staff, for 4, and then plus 3 for 7. So then we're going to see if we can actually hit our targets. So we're going to go ahead and target the frost spider here. Now it's white dice, has no penalty, so our roll won't be affected by the negative effects of the spider. And so our hit chance is 14 plus 3 that we get from using our ability. So we'll need a 17 or less. And we rolled a 16, which is enough to hit our spider. Now we're going to compare our power, our total power, which is 7 as we already said, to the spider's defense of 3. The difference is 4 points, and so we're going to do 4 points of damage to the spider. On top of that, the spider does have a sensitivity to fire, and our staff does add fire damage. So the spider would take 2 additional points of damage on top of what we're already dealing, but the spider only has 3 hit points, so it'll be enough to kill him, as we're already doing 4 points plus the fire damage. So the spider will be removed, and we have 1 action point left that we can use this turn. And since we successfully hit the spider, we also gain an experience point. So for our last action point, we're going to go ahead and just do a regular attack. So again, we're going to go ahead and target the spider. So our hero needs 14 or less, and again the spider doesn't add any negative to it, so our hero is going to roll and rolls a 14, which is enough to cause a wound. Again, we'll compare our power, which right now our power is 3 plus 1 for 4 to his defense, and so we do 1 point of damage. So we'll add a 1 point of damage token to the spider. Our hero has no more action points, so our hero will end at this point, and so the enemies are going to get to a chance to attack him back. So during the enemy's turn, they're going to go ahead and attack, so we're going to go ahead and start with the skeleton ice mage, and his power is 5 compared to our defense, which is a 5. So that will determine how much damage he does, and for his hit, he needs a 17 or less minus RAP. So RP minus 17 will be a 13, so he needs a 13 or less to score a hit. And he does, with a 7. So now we're going to compare his power to our defense, which like I said was a 5 to his 5. And so our breaks even. And so anytime the enemy's score is 0 to -1, they do 1 point of damage, so our mage will take 1 point of damage. And then on top of that, the enemy does have ice damage as well, so our wizard is susceptible to ice, and so she'll take 2 more points of damage. Then we'll move over to the spider. Again, the spider will need 14 minus RAP, so a 10, so the spider will need a 10 or less, and it rolls a 12, so it misses, which is a good thing because if it would have hit, we would have been caught in its web, and then we wouldn't be able to subtract the AP during the next turn. At this point, then our hero's turn is over and the enemies have attacked us back, so we're ready to move on to our paladin. Moving into the paladin's turn, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and work with the merchant. So again, we have our 3 coins, and our merchant is going to get 2 new items that we'll take since our mage purchased some of those. So at this point, our paladin is going to go ahead and purchase a sword for 1 gold. Which will go in this side, and then we'll go ahead and do a shield, which we'll have to put over here, and the sword will go over on this side. And then we'll go ahead and purchase a key, so we can open up any chests that we find. From here, he has completed all of his purchases, so we're going to go ahead and just remove these cards off to the side for this at this point. And he's ready to move into his turn. So he has a couple choices. He can continue exploring the dungeon by moving into a different section, or he can come over here and help our wizard fight off some of these monsters. But he feels like the wizard has a good handle on things, so he's just going to go ahead and move into another section of the dungeon. So he's going to go ahead and go this way and flip over the next card or tile. It is a 15, so we'll consult our chart. And on a 15 he has found a body in that room. So we'll place a body token in there, and then we'll move our paladin in there. That was his first action, so his second action is to go ahead and investigate the body. So we'll remove the token and take the top card of the body risk deck. So this one says that we have found a letter with the king's seal on it. You open it. I honor teamwork above all else. If all of your party return to me with the boss head, you shall be rewarded well. Kings. So this one is going to give, if all of our heroes return to the starting tile together with a boss head, then each hero is going to draw 2 reward cards. So we'll just go ahead and hold on to this for now. So that was our hero's second action. So our hero has a couple of choices. He can either stop there and not risk doing anything else, or he can push his luck and continue on to the next tile. So let's go ahead and risk it. Let's go ahead and flip over the next tile, which is a 4, and our hero will move in. And the 4 on the chart is a treasure chest. So we'll place a treasure in that spot, and that is the last action our hero can do, so he won't be able to open that treasure this turn. So the last thing he needs to do again is consult the boss event chart, which lists for him combat, movement, and run. He did not run this turn or perform combat, but he did move. So we're going to go ahead and flip over the next card of that stack. And again, it's a 0, so nothing is going to happen. Now let's go ahead and take another look at the turn sequence. So at the beginning of our hero's turn, now that we've completed our first turn, each hero is going to roll a dice to determine who goes first this turn. So our paladin has rolled a 2, so he's going to get to go first this turn. And then our wizard will go after that. So he has 3 actions again, or 3 action points that he can spend. So let's go ahead and first let's open that treasure chest for 1 action. So we'll discard the chest and draw the top card of the risk chest deck. So we've found some gold. We found a gold that's worth up to 4 gold coins. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our pile. And then we'll go ahead and continue moving. So our warrior, or our paladin, is going to move through this door here into the next tile. So we found a tile of 16 with a small 2 on it. So if we consult our chart, the body is 12 to 16, and the pile of debris is 16 with a small 2 to 20. So we've actually found a pile of debris. So we'll move in there for our second action, and the third action is to check that out. So we'll flip over the top card of the debris deck, and it says, as you clear away the debris, you've uncovered a hole, and the more you work, the larger it becomes. You hear talking coming from the hole, and you have uncovered a hideout. Enemies begin pouring out into the room that you're in. Draw 2 enemies, plus the number of heroes. So with this one, it's going to be 2 times 2, so we'll get 4 enemies. So we have a skirmisher, a grizzly bear, another skirmisher, and an archer. And again, we'll do 3 rows of 3 and a reward for each row. So it looks like our paladin has a little bit of work ahead of him. So let's go ahead, and that was his last action that he could perform. So his turn is done, but the enemies are still going to get to have a shot at attacking him. So we'll resolve the skeleton skirmishers first. And so they need 15 minus our paladin's AP of 3, so they need a 12 each. So our first one misses, and our second one is going to hit with an 11. So his power is a 5, and our warrior's defense is a 5 as well. And so we're going to, again, he's going to do 0 damage, but since it's a 0 or -1, our warrior will take 1 point of damage. Finally, the skeleton does poison damage, and our warrior is not susceptible to poison, so we're okay there. Finally, we have the grizzly bear, so it needs an 18 minus 3, so it'll need a 15, and our shield also gives us -1 to that, so it'll need a 14. And the grizzly bear definitely hits there, and so it's going to do its power is 7, and our warrior's defense again is 5. So it's going to do 2 points of damage there, and so our warrior will take 2 points of damage. Then our warrior will consult the chart, and so he did do combat, and he did move this turn. So we'll draw 2 boss event cards. The first one is a 0, and the second is a 0. So we're okay on both of those. Now we're going to go ahead and take our wizard's turn, as she still has some enemies to fight. So we're going to go ahead and look at her ability cards, and the first thing we're going to do is an extreme attack. So this is going to double the base power of our regular attack, and that's going to include any equipped items. So our base power is 3 plus our item of 4, so that will bump us up to 8 points. So this will be a good way for us to potentially drop the skeleton mage. So we're going to go ahead and roll our dice, and we need a 14 or less. And we rolled a 12, which is going to be a successful hit. So again, we'll compare our power to the skeleton's defense. So we have an 8 with our special ability card, and his defense is a 4. So we're going to do 4 damage to him, which will be enough to kill him. So we're going to gain an XP for our successful hit, which is listed on our card, and then we're going to remove the skeleton from the playing area. And then we're going to go ahead and use our Staff of Elements again. And this is also going to cost us 2 action points. And this one is going to give us +3 to our power level. Again, we're going to roll our hit class, which is 14 plus 3, so 17 or less. And we rolled a 3, which is successfully hitting him. And so we do a total of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of damage, minus his armor. So we do 4 points, which is going to be enough to kill our spider. And that is all the action points we have this turn. So we won't be able to do anything else there, and we'll gain 1 more experience point for successfully hitting that spider. And the next turn we'll be able to take a look and see what we have for our reward. Finally, we did enter combat, so we'll go ahead and resolve an event, and it was nothing, so we're good there. And so that'll end our player turn. So starting our third round, we're just going to go ahead and say that the wizard is going to go first. And she's going to go ahead and do a run action first, which is a half of an action per space. So that'll be 1 action to get up here and help out our paladin as he is in some trouble. And then we would move over to our paladin's turn. And we're going to go ahead and say that they both take a couple turns to defeat these enemies. And so they knock them out. From that point, then they can check out their rewards. And each hero can choose to pick them up completely or share them with the other heroes. On top of this, we're going to go ahead and say that our heroes had done our boss event stuff. So we're going to go ahead and flip over the next card of the boss event, and it is a 15. So we do have a 15 tile out, and so we are going to spawn the top boss in the boss deck. So we'll flip over that card, and it's the Demon Lord. So at this point, now that there is a boss out there, and as you guys can see from his stats, he is really nasty. Our heroes have no shot at even barely hitting him, let alone defeating him at this point. So they have 2 choices. They can either try to flee the dungeon by getting back to that starting tile, or they can push on and hopefully get new gear and continue leveling up until they can actually start doing some damage to him. But the Demon Lord, or any dungeon boss, is not going to just sit idly by and wait for the heroes to level up and get strong enough to defeat him. So at this point, whenever the heroes need to flip over a boss event card, that's when the bottom is going to come into effect. And it's going to tell the players how to move the boss and what he's going to move towards. Most of the time, it's going to be the most noisy character. So at this point, he would move towards the paladin in later phases. So I hope that gave you guys a good idea of some of the basics of the game. There are so many different options in this game, I couldn't include all of them, otherwise this video would be extremely long. So I just wanted to show you guys basically how the game works and some of the main features of it. There are so many different aspects to this game that no matter what kind of a player you are, it's going to meet some of your needs, whether you like to be competitive or cooperative, whether you like to play solo missions or scenarios, or if you want to play a full campaign. This game has a lot of meat on its bones, and there's a lot of different things you can do within it. So other than that, if you guys have any questions, as always, please leave them in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you like what I do, if you like my videos, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it always helps me grow and to bring all these awesome videos to you guys. And until next time, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it, and you guys have a good day.